Star Trek will not be presented tonight, so that we may bring you the following special program.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. It's been called one of the top 3 real Comic-Cons in the USA. August 16th through the 18th, discover Terrificon as it returns to the Mohegan Sun Expo Center in Uncasville, Connecticut. Terrificon showrunner Mitch Halleck has assembled his biggest and best comic creator guest list to date. Jim Lee, Scotty Young, Mark Waid, Adam Hughes, Jason Aaron, Charles Soule, Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, Brian Azzarello, alongside legends like Chris Claremont, Jerry Ordway, Howard Chaykin, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Louise and Walter Simonson, Klaus Janson, Lee Weeks, and dozens more. Terrificon also brings you the actors who have brought your favorite superheroes to life on the big and small screens. Michael Rooker, Charlie Cox, Star Trek actors Walter Koenig, Nana Visitor, Armin Shimmerman, Ethan Peck, Celia Rose Gooding, and many more. That's Terrificon, August 16th through the 18th. For information on tickets and guests, visit Terrificon.com. Welcome back, everybody. Time for another Word Balloon, Aw Yeah, Trek Watch. There is so much to talk about regarding Star Trek, not just the wrap-up of Discovery, but I also pointed the boys to a video that Anson Mount did that really gives us a lot of behind-the-scenes information regarding Strange New Worlds. We also have the Acolyte, who first 2 episodes that dropped this week on Disney, and the guys are all caught up on Doctor Who. I will be a spectator for that portion of the conversation. But everybody's here. Franco, Mitch, Wayne. Good to see everybody. We'll start with Disco. It's thank God it's over. I don't know about you guys, but when I was curious because a lot of final episodes of a season are a little longer than the regular episodes, and I expected maybe it's an hour, maybe an hour 10, almost 90 minutes of pain, and I strapped in. It took me 3 separate views to get through the whole damn thing. Just because I held my nose and almost threw up a few times. So, I suppose if you like Disco, it stuck the landing, and you all got feels from the wrap up. But I found the solution to the problem annoying, and the postscript incredibly annoying as well. But opening thoughts, guys.
I just thought it was a lame ending. It is just as disappointing as Galactica, as Lost. It just, like I wish hockey was on.
I think it stuck the landing in consistency because it was not good. Although I have to say that I did enjoy the action science stuff, like when they were on the ship and how they teleported the dreadnought ship, the Breen ship away. Although I still don't understand how the mycelium network works in terms of what they set up and how they did it. But it was a cool idea, and I did enjoy the kind of action aspect and like the ideas. Like, all right, let's get ideas. That part mostly.
Okay.
I liked that part. Not all of it, not all together, but I liked that mostly. And the Michael Burnham show, I didn't like. The Michael Burnham show was not good. The Michael Burnham show flash forward to the future, confused the hell out of me, and then brought us back to where we were, so she can kill the ship or drift it off into whatever. I guess that I sort of remembered it connected to the short, right?
Calypso,
right? So. But that didn't answer any of my questions. Like, why did you do that?
Real fast, Zora is sentient. the ship, the artificial intelligence.
Right.
So
man, you're gonna punish her to years of
isolation. And also, man, just New Trek in general, they crap on Data and other androids and artificial intelligence. It's like every lesson that we had from the Berman era of Trek in terms of, well, let's respect sentient artificial intelligence, other than Lower Decks with what they did with Peanut Hamper and the exocomps. But really, it's like, man, for a show that really is, we really understand the individual and all that stuff. I got an issue with that, and I mean, I got a whole pad of issues. But go ahead.
But it was Daniels. It was Daniels all the time.
Okay.
He said, take the Discovery and drop it off here. So here's the funny thing. So unless that pathway drive really works, so you spore out to some godforsaken place in the universe. How do you get back?
That sounds dirty, by the way, Wayne. Spore.
Well, there was that, Mitch, wasn't it in that article that you posted that kind of addressed?
It was the pathway drive.
Yeah. Okay, but Mitch says, feel free, man.
All right. Let's see. I had to wait all season for this. I never thought the build-up, the long arc, I never was on board for any of it because it seemed like a lame Raiders Lost Ark national treasure, gathering all the pieces to unlock the mystery of the progenitors or whatever they're called. And I'm like, all right. And then when they finally get there, the whole Michael Burnham thing, and they're like in that world, and of course it's her and what was the other cast? What's the girl's name?
Lock.
Of course, it's them.
Locke.
And then there's one part.
Is it Maul or Locke?
It's Maul. Locke's the guy.
Okay,
Maul or whatever, though. Nobody cares. So anyway, when you go there, and they're walking through all the different dimensions and stuff, and of course Burnham figures out that there's a little wavy line next to things, so that's how she can get through. Of course, nobody else sees it. But I'm sitting there going, they come across a monument, and she goes, oh, that's the monument to these other people that were trying to get out of here, and they died. And I'm like, when did that happen? Did I miss that? Was that the other people that fell through? How did she know what that monument was?
I think because they were in that other episode, they were at that other monument. But my confusion with that, because I had to think about that. Yeah. My confusion with that was it didn't look like the same monument.
No, but she knew what it was. And again, I'm like, here we go. She knows
Michael
everything.
Burnham.
Yeah, I know. And it's so annoying. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So as that's going on, they finally get to the progenitors. And of course, only she could figure out that little puzzle. Don't do a triangle, do the opposite end. I'm like, oh my God, really? We're really doing this? But we do. And we get there. And then I go, okay, so look. It's been all these years. We're in the future. We're going to wrap this up. It's all this Star Trek goes all the way back to Next Generation. Maybe we're going to find out some groundbreaking thing. Oh, yeah, we just found this machine. We didn't invent it. It was here for us. I was like, you know what? What the hell? That would be like they open the Ark of the Covenant at the end, and there's a little piece of paper like, sorry, closed for business. Come back. You build up to this big finale. This is the finale of the series. This is the finale of this season's MacGuffin. And they finally get it. And they go, we don't know what the hell it is, but you want to come along and join us? Come on. And I'm like,
it's like
that's it? That's it? That's what you built up for? It's like, I didn't watch Lost, but I guess if I watched that show, I would have been bummed out too to find out they were all dead to begin with. I'm like, wait, that was it? You wasted all these years and this is the big finale? This is all we've come to? Whatever. So anyway, that's one part that I had a problem with. That I thought the story was weak. I thought the story arc was weak, and the wrap up to that particular episode was lame. And then I told you, John, for a show that's about exploration and discovery, they kick a lot of ass, and it's the guy with the weird ears. Last week he invaded that base and he shot up everything and fired all the photon torpedoes. Yeah, this week he ignited a gas cloud and fried all those Breen and stuff.
Can I say something, Mitch? Can I?
He's kicking ass. I don't mind it.
I was going to say, in 3 episodes, he's become my favorite character.
I know.
Yeah.
Out of the 5 years of Discovery.
5 seasons, and we knew that guy. I was like, that guy, oh, okay, at least he does something, Well, but anyway, that was my only thing. I hated the whole episode, and I went to check the time. And when I saw there was 25 more minutes to go, I go, you gotta be kidding me. And I sat there, watched the whole rest of it in one sitting, and the whole schmaltzy ending with her happily ever after and whatever. I don't care. They got a kid, whatever.
Two things regarding the progenitors, the way that the progenitors spoke to Burnham compared to the Next Generation episode where there's the hologram of the progenitor talking to Picard, the Romulan, the Cardassian, the Klingon. I don't remember. There was probably a Ferengi there. There were two different messages, and I really find that interesting because they almost conflict with each other. Back in the Chase, the Next Generation episode, the progenitor says, we took our DNA, we put it in all your species. So there's a little bit of us in all of you, and there are common traits within your DNA, so you're not as different as you think you are. Cut to progenitor talking to Burnham, and she says, we appreciated the individuality of all of you, and that's why we did what we did. Now, Saru, in his post-wedding speech, kind of touches on we're all not that different, and Michael says in infinite diversity and infinite combination, the IDIC, and that's fine. But to me, and this is something I was saying to Mitch earlier when we were talking, it shows the difference between 20th century American society and today. Because in the 20th century, the belief was we're a melting pot. We have all these different immigrants coming to this country and creating an American society that ideally we can all benefit from. But these days, it's all about respect me, respect my individuality, because that's the most important thing, that you know what I am and what I represent. And it's like, well, that's fine, but you rewrote what the progenitors did. And again, either you did that on purpose or you completely missed the point that they were trying to make in the Chase. Because there's that great conversation with Picard and the Romulan at the end of the Chase. All the other aliens are appalled at the progenitor's message, but the Romulan calls Picard and says, hey, maybe we're not that different, and maybe someday we can explore that more than the current status quo. Nice message. No, don't want that. No, is that look at me, I'm very important. And also, Burnham decides for the entire Federation that we're going to keep the tech and we're going to destroy it.
Put it in the black hole.
How does that fly with the president and the admiral and all that stuff?
Excuse me, the progenitor said that it was up to her.
No, but she's the only one that knew that. That's like crazy talk. I said the same thing. I go, wait, they sent her on this mission to find this thing because the fate of the galaxy was at stake when the show started this season. She was riding on like a surfboard. I was like, really? This is what you're doing? And then at the end, she goes, yeah, we're going to hide it in a black hole so no one can get to it. What about Admiral Mummy?
The progenitor said it was up to her. Sorry.
I understand.
Sorry,
but
Mitch.
again, you know what we're saying. But also, here's something else now. And again, all right. So here's something: is it's Locke is the woman, and Maul is okay.
We don't even know
Locke's
the villain.
The guy, Maul is the woman.
Maul's the woman. Okay, they want. All right, she wants to revive. Locke.
Yes.
And no, we can't use the progenitor's technology. Well, Discovery and Discovery writers, you did manage to revive Culber using the mycelial network seasons ago. So you have that technology. And I if we use it too much, then it's going to ruin the mycelial network. Well, it's been 1,000 years since you used it. I think for this one thing.
That guy's a green alien. Why would we want to revive him?
And he's been dead for a few days.
Don't get me going on Captain Smiley that they had to wrap everybody's storyline up, and it's like, this is why I came back from the dead. I know I'm here to do this thing. I go, really?
Also,
how does that do that? How the hell did you know that? But
I can imagine in the writers' room, they're like, okay, we got to figure out how does he know the combination to stop that thing? Oh, I know. We'll have Hugh. I remembered his name.
Oh,
he'll randomly remember something from when he was possessed. That'll be it. And then I love that Book asked him. He asked him. He goes, "How did you know?" He goes, "I don't know. I just know."
Yeah.
How come that's the only thing you know? I don't know.
Somehow it's like somehow Palpatine returned.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. How did he come back? We don't know. Somehow. Okay, that's good. We're gonna go with that answer. Okay, Really?
Cooper, missed opportunity. Maybe rather than focusing on Saru's relationship, how about the ambassadors debate and grapple with, should we have access to this technology? Yeah. Also, was it just the one Breen ship that knew about? I guess it. I mean, I suppose that's the assumption.
Yeah, it was because there was the Civil War, so they were trying to keep
Okay.
information secret.
Okay. All right. Hey, Francis as a teacher. Hey, wow, guess what Tilly's going to do at the academy? She's going to introduce a mentoring program. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. And I realize not every teacher acts that way or wants to, but isn't that kind of the role of a teacher, is to mentor the students?
Don't you say a cross word about Tilly. Don't you
I
say
got
it.
plenty of crosswords. What a waste of a character.
And how?
Again, they show, all they do is they talk about, oh, you've grown so much. Oh, this is why Rayner chose her
she
as a
has.
first officer. Yeah, I know, exactly. Physically. Yeah, pant size wise, absolutely.
Hot.
Okay, but truly, other than the fact that obviously they have established that she was mentoring the cadets a couple seasons ago, third season, and that she's going to do it now, fine, whatever. But it's like, hey, she's going to mentor these kids, and it's like, yeah, I think that's kind of what teachers do. And again, it's like I don't get it, man. I really don't get how these idiots write such simpleton.
Well, I think I think what she meant by mentoring is like she's going to get other people like from Starfleet to mentor certain students, and that if it were me as a writer setting things up, is setting things up for the Starfleet Academy series where you have these things coming back. I get all that. I just had so many issues watching this thing. Just so like from the beginning to end, I'm like, what is happening? What did I just do for 9 episodes? What did they try and do in setting all this up? Nothing pays off. It was just really. I've never been so disappointed in a Star Trek series.
And then and then when they goes, "What's your name?" Michael Burnham. Oh, you can call me Crewman Daniels, Enterprise. I was almost throwing shit at my TV. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Then I was like, "Wait, they really wrapped up that Enterprise storyline from all these years ago?" I'll give them credit if that's cool, but it seems so forced and so lame. I'm like, wait a minute, why did he age so much? Because he was in the future. Why does he look like an old David Cronenberg? Why didn't they get that other actor? Whatever.
Wasn't Daniels on the original Enterprise show too? Like that
he was on Enterprise with Archer. Yeah.
It was part of the whole. He was the guy explaining the Temple Cold War to Archer. Yes, and they even had a death scene of him being old and falling apart, which I assume might be after David Cronenberg's portrayal from a timeline standpoint. But yeah,
it was forced.
It was forced, and also they're so like, hey, here's an Easter egg. Hey, look, it's Cisco's ball. Hey, it's Geordi's visor. It's a bottle of Picard. It's like, okay.
I know. I saw that too. I'm like, why does he have Benjamin Sisko's baseball there? What the hell? Does Sisko never met him? Why was that a part of the timeline?
Well, and that's another thing. I mean, Sisko wasn't an Enterprise.
Well, you know what? I was hoping Sisko would show up or something. Here's what a better ending would be. Let's start doing better endings. That guy.
Already? We just started.
No. And I wouldn't have been so mad about everything because their other stuff was lame. The whole story arc this season was a lame story, and the progenitors wrapped up with bullshit. But if they said, "What's your name?" and he goes, "Gary 7," and it turned out to be Isis was Book's cat, I would have been all over that. Said, you know what? That's clever. That wraps it all up. But the fact that Mitchell A.S. Halleck, who sits here in Connecticut, who gets no money from Paramount, has better storylines, and I'm sorry, these are better than what they're getting paid to do. There's a problem with that because I'm not a professional writer. I'm a fat geek who watches Star Trek, and I'm 57 years old, and I'm proud of it. And I sit there and go, why am I still watching this? Because this has nothing to do with the Star Trek that I fell in love with when I was 6 years old, and my mom made me watch Channel 11. There. Go ahead.
I honestly thought he was going to reveal himself as Gary 7 too.
Wouldn't that have been better?
I had said a couple of weeks ago that Grudge was going to be part of the ISIS cat species. Like, well, she didn't have to specifically be ISIS, but be of those people that could be human or cat. I agree. Absolutely. Because all of a sudden, this cat that's just been there I mean, and hey, man, I'm more of a dog guy, so I'm more of a Porthos Enterprise fan than Grudge. But yeah, it's like, okay, that would have been interesting. That all this time, Grudge is of
Right.
that race and is observing everybody. I completely agree with you, man. No, it would have been much, much better instead of, hey, look, I'm Agent Daniels. And and also the Popcast, which is one of my favorite critiquing shows of Star Trek, they put out there on their Reddit or on their Discord the day after Cronenberg premiered. One of their fans said, "What if Cronenberg is actually Agent Daniels?" Seasons ago when they first introduced
Oh, really?
Cronenberg, and he thinks somebody from the show saw that Reddit, and that's why kind of backed into it in this final episode.
They should have watched this show.
maybe
They would have got better stories.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't. What else can you say? And then also, I will admit, and I was shocked that Book and Burnham's kid was a male kid and not a girl. And it would have been. I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter either way. But yeah, I actually was a little surprised that in this feminist forward thinking of New Trek, that it wasn't another woman. But that's fine, whatever. But yeah, I hated it. I hated it. It was Lord of the Rings. It was Return of the King with all the false endings. It's like, wrap it up. Let's go. We don't care.
And then there's the sappy ending. And I really did think Saru was going to die because it would have added weight to the show if there was a major character after all these years.
Sure.
That's just old school. You always want like the main guy to get killed, but I get it. Happy ending. But the whole wedding thing, and I told you off the show that they brought those two actors back, the Helms people, because I had heard the reason why we didn't see them in the last couple episodes is because during the writer's strike, they had a halt production, and those two actors got on another show apparently, and they couldn't come back to Discovery to film the last few. So that's why they had new crew members, and they just did that little montage goodbye, hugging
All
each
the
other.
hugs. Yeah, all the hugs.
Like whatever.
Well, and also I said to Mitch, I go, okay. And they said, hey, we had to tack on that epilogue because then we found out we were wrapping up the series. Well, they could have also, when they got everybody to hug for that final scene, they could have done some inserts of them because according to the story, and you really had to blink or not blink to see it, but supposedly Detmer and long African name lady with that starts with an O, the navigator and the helmsman, they sent, they grabbed the Mirror Enterprise and took it back to Starfleet. Fine. They could have provided Starfleet information and inserted those in those episodes and be like, oh, hey, Detmer, can you tell us what the Admiral thinks of what we're doing right now for the Progenitor mission? Yes, Captain, blah, blah. And I mean, what you would always see in previous Star Trek shows where you'd get a little moment on a view screen and you get a little exposition or whatever. But again, no, we just, it's so nice everybody's back at the end for Saru's wedding and they all hug. I had so much feels. And really, man, if you can stomach it, for the comedy, you should really watch Will Wheaton squeak through his final ready room with Sunita Martin Green and Michelle Paradise, the showrunner of Discovery. Yeah. Because, it was so great, and I had so many feels, and it's like, shut up. Shut up, Wesley, in the words of Jean-Luc Picard. Anyway, here, Cooper again here. Basically, this season validated every criticism leveled at it from the very beginning of the series. Yeah, and again, they're like, we were constantly changing the show. Why were you changing the show? Because there was a negative reaction to what you were doing, and the show kept reinventing itself in very negative ways. So, if you have more to say, boys, I've said plenty about Discovery. Well, feel free.
I was going to say, remember when they fast forwarded after the Red Angel story and they came into the future and we watched it and they had that wild Western outlaw town. Remember there was a snow and they had been separated for a couple years and she couldn't find Saru and he didn't know what happened to her because, it started off with a whole new slate, like a clean slate. And we were like, oh, maybe it's going to be episodic. Maybe they're going to be like the old Trek. They're going to go and do new episodes and new worlds and all that. I said, okay. And then it quickly shifted back into the old format where it's her that saves the day, which I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And then they did this scream nonsense with why the warp drive disappeared because that guy yelled, which was like, makes no sense whatsoever. So then that storyline went. So that was season 3, right?
Right.
Okay, season 4, the storyline, the major storyline was Book, right?
Book and the Orion, and Book was in 3 as well, but the Orion pirate kind of, challenging the Federation and all the stuff with the Orion, the Green Lady. She was the big bad of season 4.
And then this season was the chase for the Raiders Lost Ark thing. So in 5 seasons, the only good story arcs that really ever paid off was the Lorca stuff. And then I'd say the Enterprise stuff with Captain Pike when he came on board and Spock and all that. I think that worked. But other than that, after 80 something episodes, 100, whatever?
65, I believe.
So you're talking maybe on a scale of like 1 to 10, maybe 20% or 100%. 20% of this show worked in 5 years, maybe 25. That's being generous. Isn't that kind of messed up?
I'm sorry.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of talent. That's a lot of writing. To sit back and when it's all said and done and say, if I had to go back and watch any of it, which I told you, I don't know how this is ever going to go to syndication.
I was going to say, when are we going to start the rewatch?
Yeah, right? I would only really watch the Pike episodes and the Lorca episodes. I don't think I'd go back to any of these other ones that have been on.
You're right, Mitch. On balance, I think the first season is the best season of Discovery. I really do. And I still had a lot of problems with it. As far as the second season, yes, it was great that they introduced Pike. I hate the way they played Spock.
Yeah.
I hate I wanted to like the Talos 4 comeback episode that was kind of a sequel to the Cage and the Menagerie.
Right.
But there's a lot I didn't like about that. And ultimately the show just because the second season was really about that artificial AI doing control and Section 31 with its secret headquarters that is this giant space station that everybody seems to know about. I don't know, man. It's like you said. And also, what Mitch and I were saying was, all the other Berman era and original series Trek, they've all benefited from syndication, and it has a rewatchability clearly because people keep talking about it. I question if Discovery will ever reach, and a lot of maybe Strange New Worlds, and I do want to talk about Strange New Worlds in a bit, but I don't see the rewatchability of Discovery. I don't.
No, but if you go behind the scenes, the showrunner wasn't Michael Chabon on the first 2 seasons, and then he left. Because I'm trying to think, just like I watched The Walking Dead, you can see when the show goes off the rails. It's like when the Scott Gimble guy takes over and they get rid of the other showrunners and Kirkman leaves the thing and has nothing to do with it. And then it just goes off. They kill Carl and the show never recovered really. The same thing with this thing. It had a good start. It was a little rocky on season 2. Usually season 3 is when most of these shows come into their own, like Star Trek and Deep Space and even it's always a 3-year shakedown. This thing, the other way. 3rd season, it went into the toilet and never came back. And I'm like, what was the element that left? Was it Fuller? Who was running this ship?
Well, they did have at least
Michael Burnham.
3 different, 3 different showrunners. Mike Conrad agrees with you, Mitch. Just imagine if Fuller had been the showrunner for Disco from the beginning, instead of being pushed out by the powers that be. We as fans of good Trek missed out big time because again, Fuller had Voyager experience and understood what made Star Trek great.
Why did he get pushed out? What's he talking about?
Oh no, at the beginning. Well, he created Disco and then Hannibal
he did Hannibal, on NBC,
okay. And I don't know, but Kurtzman essentially took his original ideas and rewrote them. The Mycelial Network was about terraforming planets.
Yeah.
Because that's more in line with the real science of what the real scientist Stamets came up with. And no, they made it this BS, almost swore, transporter nonsense or transportation nonsense.
Transport thing, yeah.
That's all stupid. And also another thing that the podcast guys pointed out that drives me nuts: Adira and Adira's inability, despite having a Trill symbiote in her body, to connect with her past lives, let alone the symbiote itself. So that symbiote is trapped in Adira's body and is living
And is
this
screaming to get let out.
idiot. Let me out. I know the answers. What is wrong with you? And stop being afraid of your own shadow. Again, what a waste of a character. That I mean, that was the great thing about the Trills. It was, an allegory to trans people and LGBTQ, all of that, and I think that's great. And here was an opportunity to show that Adira has male qualities because of the symbiote, as well as her non-binary thing. No, we're just gonna. Hi, I'm non-binary. Yay! Well, that's great, but again, that's only square one. What else about you is interesting? I'm afraid of everything. Well, I respectfully to the community she represents, I would be incredibly disappointed because she was a waste of a character.
Well, think of the relationship between Siskel and the old man.
Exactly.
He never called her Jaxia. He said the old man.
Curzon, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Curzon.
also I was rewatching the 7th season with Ezri, and exactly the subtext is, oh my God, I've lost my best friend in Jadzia. I don't know what I'm going to do. Ben, it's me. It's Dax. And all of a sudden, he's like, man, it's good to see you, old man. And it's like, even though it's this totally different character, the connection is still there. And all of a sudden, he feels better about things. What a waste. What a waste, and what a lack of understanding of what makes Star Trek great.
Do you think they actually watched the Progenitor episode, or they just sort of guessed?
I think they didn't do it as great.
No, they look like they went to Wikipedia and read what they were, and they just took that and went with it. They didn't watch the show. They went to that Trekpedia thing.
I don't know.
What was I going to say about the whole show? I sat back and I said, let me try to be objective. Let me try to play, devil's advocate. Because, I mean, it's because – and I watched that Anson Mount interview that you sent us, that video.
We're going to talk about that in a second. Go ahead.
And I listened to him, and he said the same thing. It was so similar. He goes, I first saw Star Trek because he said he's a fan. And when he wrapped season 3 a couple weeks ago, and he made a little video telling the fans, he goes, I'm one of you. I watched the show. I love it. I'm glad to be part of it. I always wanted to be on it. When the opportunity came up, he tried to be Lorca, but he didn't get the role. And he says, I got introduced to Star Trek when I was about 7 or 8, and my mom put me down in front of the TV, and I watched syndication every Sunday night, and I saw the first 3 seasons of the original Trek a couple times. And I sat there and I said, well, that's similar to my story, because I remember my mom would work nights, and Channel 11 here in New York would show Star Trek, and it would be our babysitter. She's like, hey, look, watch this. It's really good. Science fiction. She was always into science fiction, my mom. So that's how I watched Star Trek. I said, oh, so Anson Mount is of the same fan base I am. We watched the original, and then he said he went in and didn't watch TV for years, but then he got into Next Gen, and he got into all this, and he loves all of Star Trek. And then I said, okay, the Enterprise story is gone and over. It was the original. It was Next Generation. It's over. It was Archer stuff. Enterprise is done. Voyager was its own thing. Deep Space Nine was its own thing. Discovery, and again, I'm trying to be objective, was its own thing. And I said, let me look at it for that. And then I go, maybe even in the title, it's called Discovery. What are they discovering? Oh, maybe it's about the people. They're discovering the new races or the new aliens or something. What is the new mission going to be? It never fulfilled on that promise because it became a one-hit wonder. It became the Michael Burnham show every week. She was the person that saved the day. The side characters we talked about in length, we never knew who they were other than Saru and maybe the
Stamets,
and then
Tilly. Don't forget Tilly.
And of course, Tilly.
None of them ever stood out. None of them were ever a McCoy. None of them were ever in a Chekhov or Sulu or Lieutenant Riley. Yeah. None of them ever did that. And I'm like, why did this show, to me, as an old Trek fan, why did it never work? And I'm like, they had the money, they had the sets, they had the makeup, they had all the elements, but it never clicked on any level with me that this was Star Trek. You could have called it something else and I would have been fine. But by putting the Star Trek logo on it, I expected the philosophy of Starfleet, the Federation, the future, even though it was bad because the Federation fell apart, I knew it was going to come back and be happy and optimistic. And that's something to look forward to. All the Star Trek shows had that. Every one of them always had that bright future, no matter how many wars they were in, no matter what plagues, no matter World War III, whatever happened, you always had that element of hope. This show never addressed any of that stuff. When we did see Starfleet, we found out they eat shit in the replicator. The Federation broke up. There was only like 9 planets left. They just kind of crapped on the whole Roddenberry thing. And that's why I began to hate it so much, because it's like they took something I enjoyed and loved for 50 years and just ripped it to shreds and put it back together again and said, now shut up and eat it. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to shut up and eat it. This is not what I want. This is not what I ordered. I didn't order this. I ordered something else. No, this is what we want.
We've talked about this. We talked about this and who was this show made for? And you can make the argument that it was made for a newer audience that has nothing or no prior knowledge of Star Trek and everything. But I think those are the only people that like this show. I don't know anybody who's old Star Trek watches this and likes it or enjoys it. I haven't heard from anybody.
Except Will Wheaton.
There was more.
But I do like Strange New Worlds, though, which is like, you can't say New Trek because that's New Trek, but
that's such a different formula, though, because they knew it was episodic. They knew they were going to go episodic, and I think there's got to be chemistry too. I haven't really felt much chemistry with this cast, between the cast, and there's chemistry between Anson Mount and Ethan Peck and Rebecca Romaine and you know, there's the chemistry there where, you know, even I'm forgetting his name, Hemner.
Oh yeah.
Who was only there on for like a season or so, and like I liked him more than almost any character on Discovery. It's just writing was bad. They never clicked chemistry wise, and if you watch this backwards, maybe you'll get what you were hoping for, where it gets better by the end. But it doesn't do it for me.
The only character I liked was Saru. I thought he did a great performance. I can't think of his name right now, but
Doug Jones.
He's always good in everything he does, but I thought he really tried. I never had a problem with him in every episode. I thought he tried to do something with that character, and he was very successful. But he's the only one I liked out of her. Until she was annoying at first in the beginning. I thought there was hope, like there was going to become like more like a leader, but she became this neurotic, scary cat. And I'm like, how is this person leading Starfleet when she's always indecisive? To this day, on 5 seasons, she still doesn't know if she should be going on missions. Should I tell the captain he might have made a mistake? How are you the leader of the next generation of the new Starfleet if you still don't have any confidence in your character? That's the way I see her. I never thought she grew as a character. I always thought she was still playing it as like, oh, I don't know if I made the right move. I'm like, really? After all this, you know? But that went off track, though, because she was about to. Remember when she landed on that snow planet with the 5 cadets or whatever, and she was fighting and doing stuff? I go, oh, look, she's turning into like a cool leader. And they never followed up on that. They just threw her off the show. She went off to Starfleet. We didn't see her. And then she came back this year. And I'm like, oh, it's the same character that she was in season 1, I thought. But whatever.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Furthering the whole point that Mitch was making about Discovery and the lack of hope, take another show that Roddenberry did, Andromeda, that dealt with the fall of the Commonwealth. So you had an entire galaxy that was torn apart, similar to what happened with the Federation. Yet this small little ship was bringing the Commonwealth back one by one. And you actually felt hope through those 5 seasons of Andromeda versus the 3 seasons dealing with the future of Discovery. There was actually more hope, even with the characters changing, even when there was deaths, even when they had a change in character, you still felt more hope that I forget Sorbo's character, who he was, but
Dylan Hunt, I believe.
Yeah, Dylan believed he could bring the Commonwealth back.
Yes.
And bring it back the way it was, that everyone was included and that we'd be all working together. But for whatever reason, it seems Discovery had no concept of what it is to take a hopeless situation, turn it around, and give you something to look forward to. Even MASH, showing the most horrible scenes of what war is, tried to give you some hope in those episodes. Without hope, you got nothing. And in this show, there was nothing to give you hope because there's no reason for it.
Kurtzman says they started Dark on purpose with the Klingon War and then wanted to show the resolution of season 1 that, no, we believe in hope. They don't know how to write. And I agree with you guys. They didn't show hope. It was bleak. Everything was bleak. But again, he feels he was reflecting the times of the moment. And I go back to that point that Robert Nett made on his show that I told you guys about as well, in that now institutions that we always believed in, and then, of course, we had Watergate in the 70s, but even after Watergate, that was kind of an anomaly compared to the rest of the 20th century. We believed in institutions. People don't believe in institutions anymore. And I think that's reflective in a lot of Discovery's writing, that you can't count on the Federation, and it collapsed. And again, the whole thing of, is Starfleet a military protocol organization, or is it you can spout off to the boss? And there were too many instances, and New Worlds, Strange New Worlds does as well, where it's, I'm sorry, I don't believe that they believe Starfleet is a military organization. Even Shatner said, that's my problem with New Trek. He goes, the military protocol doesn't seem to be there. And there has to be somebody in charge. And we had a little bit of it with Rayner this year. Like it or not, he's the first officer. You got to listen to him until Tilly, what's your problem? Well, what's your problem, madam? Because this is Starfleet. And you don't get to spout off to the boss and your superiors like that. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Doesn't that argument that you just made, and it's actually very valid, but doesn't that fly in the face of what Star Trek was supposed to be? Like, Star Trek was supposed to be about hope, exploration.
It was supposed to be the Peace Corps. I always thought. Yeah,
well,
Peace Corps in space.
Again, yeah, I agree. I've made that Peace Corps analogy as well. But I also say it doesn't have to be the Marines. It doesn't have to be the Navy. It could be the Coast Guard, and there are commanders and subordinates in the Coast Guard. So I understand. Like, I'm not saying you got to be war first and war front, but it is a military organization. And up until New Trek, you always got, like, you've got your orders, execute them. Even when the captain is wrong. Go back to the First Contact movie. And, you know, his plan to go after the Borg. And Alfre Woodard is like, well, what are you guys doing? She's like, he's the captain. We follow his orders. Well, she's not from Starfleet. So she could get in Picard's face and go, what are you doing? You're doing it wrong. That's fine. And you could have outside. That would have been great for Gray. Because Gray was never part of Starfleet.
No.
And they could have been a good negative, like, hey.
Like a sounding board.
A sounding board, exactly.
Yeah, I'm new here, but it seems to me you're doing it wrong.
You know where I think, you know where they went off the rails? When they changed the Vulcans, and I'm not kidding, when they to Navarre, whatever, because the Vulcans are the constant in the entire Star Trek universe. They don't move. They're the logical mind. They're the computer. They're the humanless, emotionless thing. And Starfleet and the Kirk and everybody else was always the human side of it. You know, that's almost like the cold clinical technology. I always thought of as Vulcans, and we're the humans still trying to live with that, but we're still trying to be adventurous, and that's what you needed. As soon as they change it, well, we're now Navarre, and we're doing that. I go, what are you doing? What the hell are you doing? It would be like tomorrow, all the Wookiees in Star Wars just shave. Why? Because we're not doing that anymore. We're going to go hairless.
No. They joined the Ewoks.
Yeah, and they're skinless, and they talk with a British accent. No more howling and barking. It's like, well, they're not Wookiees. Well, yeah, they
if
are.
if you're keeping score at home, Star Trek has ruined the progenitors. They ruined the Vulcans,
Yep.
and they ruined the Trills. Good job, New Trek. Good job.
Ferengis, Klingons.
We never even got to see them. We saw them in the
Yeah, I mean,
background.
Well, but you're right.
We
About
saw the Ferengi.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
no.
exactly.
Wayne is right about the Klingons. Yeah, we saw the Hey, what do you guys think? And thank God in Picard, we had a real Ferengi in season 3. But no, you're right, man. You're absolutely right. And that's how bad the Klingons were. I
You know
totally
what?
agree.
800 years from now, after Picard did the whole thing with the Borg, and I don't even know we'd talk about what was the girl's name that became the Borg queen?
Agnes.
Yeah, Allison or something.
Agnes.
Maybe a
Agnes.
reference to it. I mean, they did talk Picard. They showed his picture when they started the progenitors, like, oh, a captain named Picard went looking for this thing. But maybe what happened to the Borg? What happened to the technology? Because that's what I'm interested in. That's why you read those novels and comics, because you get into the geek minutia and you go, oh, cool. They talk about the Borg. You want to know what happens to that stuff. They don't even refer to it. I mean, Lower Decks did a better job with referring to the whole history of Star Trek. And sometimes we made fun of it, but at least they tried. This show, whatever it was, we're going to change it.
Mitch, you're right. Lower Decks, unlike Discovery, has only gotten better season after season.
And I can't believe we're saying that, because I didn't like that show when it started. But
the only real Star Trek that started off good and remained good all the way through is Prodigy.
That's right.
At the end of the day,
which we still can't.
The show made for kids.
Yep,
was literally the best. It was, I would say, still better than Strange New Worlds. The best Star Trek show out there.
All right, which reminds me, let's talk about Strange New Worlds for a second and this video that Anson Mount made. Look around for it, everybody, because it's 18 minutes long. And beyond him explaining how, as a young fan, he liked Star Trek, how he got the job, he talked about Henry Alonzo Myers and Akiva Goldsman, the showrunners of Strange New Worlds. And he said that they were really inspired by that storybook episode of the fairy tale in the first season. And that's what led them to the musical and stuff. And specifically regarding the musical, Anson Mount said this was week 9 of a 10-episode shoot. And he said, a lot of times in a series, when you're at week 9, you're burnt out, you're really feeling it, you're kind of counting the days till you're going to wrap. And he said it was completely different with the musical because all of these cast members had musical experience, and to achieve the full production, they had choreography lessons on the weekends when they weren't shooting the episode of the week, and singing as well. And he goes, I looked around the rest of the cast and everybody was energized because we were doing something different. And he basically said that subtext was that Myers and Goldsman were really inspired by that reaction to the fairy tale. They did the musical, and he said, I can't, the host said, the person interviewing him said, I know you can't reveal what's coming in season 3. What can you tell us? It's always my favorite question to ask. And he said, well, if you think the musical was our high watermark, wait till you see what we have in store for you in season 3. And my fear is that they really are leaning into the gimmicks, and we're going to get more gimmicks and less real Star Trek. And that's a shame. But they see it as a positive. The new fans loved all that stuff, but it really underlines that the current regime plays at Star Trek. They don't give us real Star Trek. It is a shell that they fill with all these other genres, and they think, mission accomplished, great job. And we're all like, God, we really wish having number 1 Pike and Spock that would get some more real stories, but that's what we're getting.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with you on that count, because I like Strange New Worlds. I like what they did, especially in the first season. A show coming off like that did so well for me first season. It was a little bit of a letdown for season 2, but I still enjoyed it more than any Discovery I've watched.
I agree, and it's apples and oranges with Strange New Worlds and Discovery. I agree with that, but it does worry me. as much as any show. I mean, I can still get through my days just fine. But it bums me out that I did feel there was a dip in season 2, and it sounds like they're going to lean towards that dip more than give us traditional Star Trek, and that's too bad. And again, it's a choice, and they feel emboldened by it because of the reactions to the musical and things like that. We'll see. We'll see what they give us.
I told you, I said, I could see when we were talking about how the old show had 25 episodes or 23 a year. And if you did a gangster episode, it didn't seem so gimmicky. If you did one about, World War II or the Roman gladiators, you're like, yeah, okay, I'll give them that. Or shore leave that episode because it was
Or
just
not
one.
teams because they're always doing
Yeah, 1 out of 25. You're like, okay, but when you only have 10 episodes, that now you're down to if they're going to do puppets on one episode and musical on the other and a fairy tale. Now 10% of that season is kind of just thrown out the window because it's just like a filler in a comic book, But
we had 2 gimmicks for Strange New Worlds last year.
Which
the crossover with Lower Decks and the musical.
But I would
argue
that both of those were actually not bad episodes.
Yeah, if anything, it was Lower Decks coming into the Strange New Worlds,
right?
And that was fine because it humanized and made the Lower Decks people more like real characters as opposed to the comedy
and more
Lower Decks was. And honestly, I would say, as I've said before, there were 3 decent episodes of Strange New Worlds, in my opinion. I don't need to go over that again. But what I will say is, Turning Spock Human was a wacky, bewitched episode.
Yeah,
that was unnecessary, and really, I didn't believe the reality they were presenting to us because again, Spock grew up with a human mother and went to the academy in San Francisco. I don't buy it. I had Heather Antos on, the editor from IDW that is in charge of all the Trek books, and she mildly disagreed, and that's fine. People can disagree with me, and that's okay. I can only speak for myself and say not buying it. And then we had the musical that was BS. They're just the only really good episodes, and I also think they kind of fudged it with Number One's trial.
Yeah,
and make so much of an analogy of discrimination and not showing the other side of the argument of genetic manipulation is a slippery slope. And that is a valid thing, even beyond giving somebody enhanced intelligence. I saw people objecting in the real world about, well, what if we could get rid of deafness? And the deaf community said, oh, thanks for wiping out the society that we've built these couple hundred years of our deaf culture. And it's like, that's why it's a complicated issue.
I don't see anybody hoping for polio to come back.
Well,
wait for it.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I mean, somehow it's like giving a chance a man with no legs an opportunity to walk again. I'm going to say, I'm pretty sure 9 out of 10 are going to go for the walking bit. You know what I'm saying? I stand corrected because we saw an episode of Trek where the guy was in the wheelchair. I was like, wait a minute. They have exoskeletons on this show. They've shown it that people could walk. I've seen it on what happened, but
no.
Whatever.
Again, you're right, man. That was the point I was going to make.
And again, we live in a world where people can't magically walk again if they're confined to a chair. I understand that, so I get the whole idea is shown that it's a universe that includes everybody. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying you built a world where they say, why doesn't Captain Kirk not need glasses? Oh, because of retina 5. I'm allergic to retina. And that's why he had to have eyeglasses on. And I was like, I just assumed, like when Dr. McCoy fixed Chekhov's brain leaking, he goes, what are you doing? Boring holes in that man's head. And he gives him 2 little pills and it fixed whatever was broken in his cranium. I'm like,
doctor gave me a pill and I grew a new kidney.
Yeah, exactly. I'm assuming 23rd century medical stuff would have advances that we don't. And I'm like, of course they're going to be walking around, you know?
Next generation, Worf gets a barrel on his spine and it crushes his spine.
Yeah.
And Beverly gives him those straps for his legs that if he works with it, he can get 60% of his mobility back.
Right.
And of course, culturally, and it made sense, Worf's like, that's half a life warriors do not live after life. I'm useless. That is a valid point back. But again, like you said, Mitch, no, they want to show representation. I'm here. I'm on the Enterprise, even though I'm in a chair. And there was also the Orion's subordinate was also physically challenged. That woman's number one, the guy who died.
Also,
Sorry, but at the time, Kenneth had an issue. That's why he was sort of physically challenged.
That's
no. I get all that stuff, but you're forgetting that Geordi was blind the entire time. But like they work it into the story in terms of how it works.
Then there was that episode, the Masterpiece Society, that genetically does get rid of all the imperfect beings of their society, and Geordi confronts the woman that appreciates the differences that she is now exposed to, and he challenges and says, I would not be alive if I were part of your society.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know what that is? That's giving the audience something to think about. And this show just tells you what to think. And that's what the problem is with New Trek. They are not up to debate. They want you to think a certain correct way, and which I mostly agree with on paper, but you have to admit there are other beliefs, and you need to show those beliefs if you want to be an interesting, thought-provoking show. But again, they play at Star Trek. They don't really understand the gestalt of Star Trek, and it's very, very frustrating.
You think like the old show, like even Next Generation, how they would have like modern day conflicts in our world, but they would play it in the science fiction background. It was always so enjoyable to watch. It's like, well, obviously this is Russian, United States versus China or whatever, but they played it as Klingons and Romulans, and you're like, oh, okay, we're really watching science fiction, but wink, wink, we all know what's really going on.
Sure.
The world we live in now, and believe me, this is the worst written story you could have ever come up with, but I call it the news every night. Why didn't they have the balls to do a storyline, a real, forget about this guy's hurt and this guy can, walk, whatever. Why not the racism that's going on, the fights between nations and stuff, the wars going on between people invading other people to steal their natural resources, the Russians coming into, the world we live in is full, ripe with storylines that you could put in a setting of the future and disguise it as aliens, and it would have been a much more interesting story to watch how the future resolves the shit that we can't get through on a daily basis, because and that shows you your glimmer of hope, and that would have made you watch it, because you go, oh my God, someday there won't be people that are mad at somebody who's half black and half white. There won't be people that walk into a thing to kill people because they need to make the statistical numbers. That was the genius of the original show. And then even the homeless people situation that they addressed in Deep Space Nine when he became that leader. I can't remember the guy's name, but remember Gabriel Bell. All this stuff that we were living through, they were talking about it. They never did any of the socio-political stuff that we live in. I didn't see it on any of these 5 seasons of this show. And it's like, why didn't you do that? Because you're trying to sell it to an international audience. You don't want to tick people off. You don't want to lose subscribers.
I don't think they're that smart, Mitch, that they are afraid of things like that. I know that it's been very interesting to speak to my gay friends about the Next Generation episode where they had the one alien race that was just one gender, and Riker falls for one of those people and everything, and they recondition that person to accept society, that society and everything. That's obviously a great analogy for conversion and all the BS that people try to do and still try to do with gay people. And again, I know I have some gay friends that get it and also are like, well, that was kind of a coward's way out. And it's like, yeah, but in the 80s and 90s, you were worried about what Southern states were going to show that episode and would object to it. It's good that we are past that now and that networks are more fearless about showing the different orientations and the different races.
I don't think they're as fearless as you say, because if they were, we would have had shows like I just said. Why didn't we have more topical storylines? Why didn't we have things that made
they don't They don't debate about it, Mitch. What they do, though, is show having a trans and non-binary couple in Adira and Gray that no, we accept these differences beyond the cisgender society and accept that there are these differences, and also obviously Stamets and Culver as well. What they don't do is challenge, and you don't have to challenge those, but you're right. You should be able to challenge these other things. But all they say is, hey, look, we're here, problem solved. And again, I think all they do is just show that those people exist on
It's
the
checking a
Discovery.
box.
It's
They
what?
just check the box
Yes, yes, yes.
without actually going into what it's like to be them. They just, oh, here we go. Tick.
Well, and instead they had that great episode with Dax and her former wife, where, hey, guess what? We're both women now. We're still in love. And again, that's as close as we got.
That was 30 years ago.
I know, and that's good. That's good that
No,
they
but
do.
I'm saying 30 years, and you don't have any better storyline now. That's what
I agree with you, Mitch, but I wouldn't say that it's completely black and white, because again, they are showing that this society, the current society, is accepting trans people, gay people, etc., and that they are finally, without the analogy, they are represented and stuff. But I also agree with you that it's like, well, I certainly would hope that 400 or 500 years in the future, if not 1,000 years, that a non-binary trans relationship within Earth is still something that you got to worry about. And oh, look how special this is. And it's like, no, you're kind of missing the point. Show them, that's fine, that they exist, but give them something else to do beyond that token representation. And it's tokenism. It really is. I don't know.
Sort of like Token from South Park.
If you will. Exactly.
Anyway, I just think the IP machine has run its steam and they're out of ideas, and we're just getting weak imitations of the things that we used to enjoy with this the name slapped on it, whether it's Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Mad Max, all these shows. It seems to be like the names are on top of these shows, and then when you go to see it, you don't get the same effect. And then somebody goes, well, that's because you grew up and you grew old and you don't get the same chills anymore. No, I watched X-Men 97 or 2, whatever the hell the show's called. I enjoyed it. I never even watched the old X-Men cartoon. At the time, I was having a life. I was getting married and having kids. I didn't have time for a goddamn cartoon on Saturday. What the hell you think? My wife would have kicked me in the ass and said, get a job, loser. But now I have that time. And I went back and watched it. And I said, this is a great show. It's quality. The writing's good. The animation's good. I enjoyed every minute of it. So I'm saying there is some people who do have that care.
I would bring up the argument of, I know Johnny didn't watch them, but the last three, I'm really enjoying Doctor Who, but the last three episodes of Doctor Who have been like really, really good.
And they've been topical. And they address things that we live in. And I go, look, that's an intelligent written show. And it makes you stop and think.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
How come they can do it?
Exactly.
Again, unlike Akiva Goldsman and Alex Kurtzman, Russell Davies has been making great science fiction that I've been aware of for almost 20 years.
Yeah, but that's Disney on there too. So you got to sit back and go, Disney's floating a lot of this new.
But the great thing is, Russell, being a gay gentleman, is already mindful of, oh no, I want to have more gay characters and be more inclusive and representative. And that's great. And again, all he's given us is good shows since he's come back. He gets the gestalt of Doctor Who. And go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's just little moments that convey that to you. Like I know you didn't see the last episode, and it's not a spoiler thing, right?
It's cool.
They introduced this character where, Dot and Bubble, they introduced this character who's like kind of like a Harry Styles type of guy, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're talking about him, and then the Doctor and Rose, not Rose,
Ruby,
sorry, where they look at each other and go hot, and then go right back to doing what they're doing. So I'm like, that just plays off so well. Like, you've said so much in that just one little look at each other and they both say hot. You get their character, you know their orientation. It doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't matter, and you go on with the show, and it just works so well. I really, really enjoyed the last 3 episodes a lot.
Yeah, and like the one with just Ruby in it, I really enjoyed that. It was
Great.
great on how she, like, it's just following her story and just going, wow. And then you get to the end of it. I don't want to spoil it for John, but it's just like you're going,
But yeah,
this could like end the series just with that.
Yep. When you're watching it, you're like, especially at the beginning, you're like, what is happening? And this is almost on the verge of annoying. You know, but you stick with it, and you're like, wow, that was a payoff. That was great.
And you know what's so good about that? I could show that to my wife, who doesn't watch anything that's science fiction related or fantasy, and she could sit there and go, you know what, that was a good story.
But that's what
It
Star Trek is missing. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying that Doctor Who one about Ruby in the future and stuff. But I'm like, that was good storytelling. So I've not given up hope. I know there's good writers out there. It's just that you got to give them freedom to tell. I don't know who's holding the reins over at Paramount and saying, don't do this or don't do that. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
That's what I'm saying.
I told Johnny this day, I said, listen, I'm not an idiot. I'm not that naive to not realize this is a publicly traded company and they want stock money. At the end of the day, they don't give a crap if you're taking some weight loss drug and your stomach's exploding. How much did it sell? Did Lilly, whatever the company makes, did the stocks go up? Did I retire? Is my pension fund? Is my portfolio going through? I don't care what you guys are writing on Star Trek, but did we sell more subscribers to Paramount Plus? That's the bottom line on all this stuff. And that's why I was surprised that Disney, which is another publicly traded company and has stockholders and stuff and has its own problems with Marvel, is letting Doctor Who tell good stories. It goes, somehow they managed to pull it off. Why can't somebody else pull it off?
Letting them tell good stories? Wait, Disney comes in and says, hey, wait a minute, you really got to screw this up. You're doing
well, but I said, now that Paramount's over, I wasn't kidding. I'm going to cancel my subscription because there's no Yellowstone. There's no, what's the Stallone thing? Scottsdale or whatever the hell it is. Arizona. Tulsa, something like that. That's not until September. I'll kiss it goodbye until the fall. I mean, that's $6 a month. That's, a soda or whatever nowadays, but they don't have anything. And I heard something today, Johnny, I think you should be aware of this. The guy was telling me that since the strike has come over and they're back to work, that Warner Brothers has cut their production by 60-something%. 2/3. They're producing 2/3 less content than they did before the strike. So that means less TV shows, less movies. People are out of work. Where there's no CW anymore. What's going on with the content? They had all these streaming, they had all these networks, and now they're not feeding the machine anymore. The movies are tanking. So what's going to happen now? We're going to go back to reading books or something?
They're wasting the problem before COVID was, or when COVID hit, was, oh shoot, we got all this stuff that is clogging up the pipeline. We got to get it out there. And the fact that it lasted for 3 years. All right, well, this is the only avenue, streaming, to put our stuff out there while theaters are closed. So they overproduced. They didn't see a return on their investments. And now we're getting the backlash of, all right, well, now we have to cut back. And you're right, man. It's less jobs for creatives, actors, writers, production people, all the below the line production people and everything. And it sucks, but it was kind of inevitable. And they're finally recognizing that as far as getting subscribers to stream, it's a finite number. And they're hitting the ceiling. And they're not, in fact, I think I mentioned it on the show, that I read that article in Variety that Netflix is not going to give their subscriber numbers out anymore starting next year. So there's that. And also we should mention regarding Paramount that we saw that it looks like Skydance is going to, take over running Paramount, that they've agreed in principle. Yeah. Franco posted that article to us earlier. Wow. So, Skydance has always been the bank, the money behind a lot of Paramount's output, good and bad. They backed Top Gun Maverick. They backed all this new Star Trek stuff. Now that they have more of a controlling interest, I don't know what's going to happen. I assume that it's going to be business as usual because, as you said, Mitch, all the corporate people do is they hire somebody to worry about the creative choices. Well, they did that with Kurtzman. I really hope there is a bean counter out there that's going, we spent a ton of money and we're not seeing a return on it. Maybe this isn't the guy to run Star Trek anymore. Go ahead, Wayne. What do you got?
Oh, I'm a ex bean counter, so I can go in there.
Well,
I'll
I
help him
understand.
out.
Okay, yeah, and I understand. I would love it if they hired you, Wayne, because you like Star Trek. Even during the Berman era, Ron Moore was probably the biggest Star Trek fan in the writers' room, and he was almost made fun of because of the knowledge he had that he brought to Star Trek. And it's like, well, geez, all the guy did was write a bunch of exceptional Next Gen, GS9, and even a couple of Voyagers before he left, and then turned around and rebooted Galactica and made it a great show.
Until the end.
I don't have the problem with the ending of either Lost or Galactica that others do.
No, he wasn't.
Lost,
what?
definitely not with Galactica. But
You know what? You just said something there. Russell T Davies was my favorite producer when they did the Eccleston and then the David Tennant stuff. And then I didn't care much for Stephen Moffat, but I liked him better than the person who took over during Jodie Whittaker or whoever was running the show then.
Chris Chibnall.
Okay. But I said to my friend who stopped watching Doctor Who with Whittaker like I did too, I would DVR him, but I wouldn't watch him because I couldn't get through them. They were just horrible. I said, I can't believe how quickly this show recovered and landed back on its feet. So I'm actually looking forward to it every week or Friday or Saturday, whenever it drops. Then I'm watching Doctor Who again like I used to. Like, oh boy, it's Saturday night. There's a new episode of Doctor Who. Oh no, there's only 2 left. Oh, there goes the season. I can't wait till Christmas now.
Is there only 2 left?
Yeah, there's only 2 left,
What?
and then it's until. But the thing of it is, whatever they get, the formula that Davies and Moffat has, they understand the character, they understand what the audience wants. No matter who the actor is, because we've already gone through 3 or 4 different Doctor Who's, but it's back to the same feel it had. It's got that weird British sci-fi kind of nihilistic elements to it when they were, killing guys and putting them in a bottle. And it was like something that you read in like 2000 AD back in the 80s with Judge Dredd. It was real creepy. And then this week you didn't see it, but there was these ugly monsters, which goes back to the old Doctor Who. And they were like eating people. It was almost like a horror element to it. And like, oh my God, this is just freaking me out. I'm scared watching it. And I know it's not real. And then the week before, they even did a small, what we'd call a bottle episode where he's just stuck in a landmine, which was so good.
Yep.
And then the Beatles episode, which some parts I didn't like, but the fact that it was imaginative and they're giving it some, I'm like, look, you could do it. You can actually get the right people for the right job and have a successful show. I don't know what the ratings are on this. I don't know if people are coming back to Doctor Who like they used to, but if they keep this going, I'll watch it forever because I'm like, this is what I enjoyed. This is what I pay money to see.
That's exactly what I was talking about before. There's chemistry with them, with the two of them.
Yeah.
So you have that, but the writing is so good. The musical episode, as hokey as it was enjoyable. I liked it. It was off the cuff, off color a little bit, So I was like, I hope they don't keep going down this path type thing. No. But every once in a while that doesn't bother me, and I like that episode. But man, these last 3 episodes after that, just like picking up steam. It's so good.
Especially the character from Dot and Bubble, the girl.
Oh, the girl.
God.
Yeah, she's a jerk.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. And there's a really good commentary on basically
the world that we live in.
the world that we live in now.
That's what I'm saying. Like this is what Trek is missing.
Yeah.
There's no chemistry with the cast on Discovery. The writing is just so subpar compared to what he's doing with Doctor Who. It's like you need that. Yeah. That's what you need.
Well, it was a whole reflect. You didn't see it, John, but when you do, it's a whole reflection on social media. Basically, the freaking dream world that all these idiots on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. Sure. It's like that's not real. I tell people about my sisters, my mom would be like, "Oh, what's that story you put about on Facebook?" I go, "That's not real." They go, "What are you talking about?" I go, "That's just a persona I put out there, honestly, because I do a show and it's like a public facade. Just like on the radio, when we go on the radio." The guys I'm on the radio with, and Stern, anybody, that's not who they really are, honestly. Because if they really were, you'd shoot them because they're overbearing jackasses. That's just a character you're playing to feed the audience. It's called entertainment.
Of
It's
course.
not. You can't be that. You can't be Howard Stern off the air like that. You'd be nuts if you were.
And
you
I
know?
and I have watched enough New Who to know
New
that
Who.
New Who,
You.
that Russell Davies is also injecting humor while still telling a serious adventure show, and it's like, no, that's good because
And it
again,
makes you think. That's what this episode did. I'm watching the girl in the dreams,
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm logging on. Where's my friends? Oh, I'm giving you 2 likes and all
Yeah,
that.
there was definitely humor in
Yeah.
there too, and
Yeah.
it gets real
like
dark
even
too.
like the war episode was the industrial war machine.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. And if you
Whoa.
don't see that, you could watch that just for a simple adventure show. But there's
Yeah.
so many more layers to it that
absolutely.
makes it intelligent science fiction. And I
You'd
go, oh,
almost say that the British writers are a little more they're using their intellect
yeah.
Well,
to write these
I know
stories.
I know there are good American writers out there too. They're just not working for Star Trek. And it's
Frank
funny.
Lawrence.
I was talking to Andy Diggle the other day, and sometimes I can't help it, and I start lamenting about Star Trek. And he's like, "Well, John, you know what's waiting for you? 6 seasons of intelligent science fiction that also reflects on today's problems. The Expanse." And he's right. And he goes, especially even the books, even more so, because Andy wrote an IDW miniseries that takes place after the 6 seasons of the TV show, but before the next bunch of novels, because I think there's like a 70-year jump between novels and stuff, as I understand it. So
You guys
yeah,
should really watch The Expanse. I swear to God, it is the geopolitical commentary between Earth, Mars, and the Outer Rim is just.
that's what I'm hearing.
It's like Babylon 5 stuff.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
that's-
it is. It's Babylon
yeah,
5,
you know.
but it's like
But even better
ramping
is
it
what I'm
up.
hearing. Yeah,
I'm
no,
never
I'm
gonna
hearing
get
the
that.
same thing.
Now, who produces that show? Is that a Disney show? Or
Uh,
Well,
Warner
it started on
Brothers?
Sci-Fi, and then it went
It was
to
Sci-Fi, then went to Amazon because Bezos' kid loved the show so much. When Sci-Fi canceled it, he picked it up.
That's
Yeah,
that's
give it
what
another-
happened. Really?
yeah.
That's
gave
what
it
happened.
another
Jeff
3 seasons.
Bezos' son loved The Expanse so much that's what saved it for
It's
the next
like the
couple of
Lucille
seasons.
Ball thing with Star Trek. It's like,
Wait a
oh,
minute,
I
wait a
like
minute,
that
wait a minute.
space
Jeff
show.
Bezos has a kid? Okay.
Yeah.
Probably has a bunch of them. You know.
Not
Didn't
anybody
Lucille
ever-
Ball save
You know,
us?
isn't he the one
Oh,
with the
she
penis
greenlit
rocket?
No, she
Yeah.
didn't save Star Trek. She greenlit Star Trek.
Oh,
Although
there you go.
I guess from a second season standpoint, I don't know if that was still Desilu or by that time it was Paramount between the second and third seasons of the original series. But yeah, so it's slightly different.
Did you guys
Um,
see that model kit I sent you?
Yeah.
You guys? Of Admiral
love-
Hall?
Yeah,
I
I saw that. Yeah.
yeah, that was cute. Wah.
No, that's a real thing. They're
Oh,
Yeah, it is.
no, I realize that. I'm wang like I Love Lucy.
no, I know, but yeah.
No, I know it's real. Of course it's real.
I knew you were weighing like her too.
Yeah, it showed up on my Facebook feed.
Yeah. Anyway, Doctor Who's good. There you go.
Um,
Thumbs up.
And
The
real
Acolyte?
fast, guys, yeah, the Acolyte.
oh yeah.
I'll let you guys take lead because I am not as versed in Star Wars, and I don't understand
You don't have to.
these characters. No, you're right. It does explain it, but the twins or whatever. I mean, they've got force powers, but they're not Jedi. Technically, they're not Sith. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, this
Whatever.
Not
takes place
everyone
years
that's force
before-
sensitive has
Yeah.
the ability to wield the force.
Yeah.
Got it. Yes, I know it's 100 years before.
Yeah.
Before
you
Luke and the Empire and all
Yeah, so
that.
we
Yeah.
don't know anything about it either. We're just learning
No.
as we go. But
No.
Okay.
Again, like the whole thing with the twins is I guess an issue because they're just falling back on what Lucas did with twins. So that's all. That's the only thing for that. But again, just because you have the ability maybe to wield the force doesn't mean you can wield the force. And that's what we're getting in this episode is you're getting two individuals that have different capabilities with the force. And we're seeing a different element of that. And we're seeing a different element of what a Sith person is, because we don't know who that modulated voice is. There's rampant speculation on it that I don't want to get into.
Okay.
It's
Why can't we?
It's Darth
Yeah, it's
Plagueis, isn't it?
It's only 2 episodes in. And
Yeah.
Chad was asking, I have not read Charles Soule's novels that touch upon this era, and even the tease of the second episode where we see the Wookiee Jedi. Charles, it's not the same character, but Charles also introduced a Wookiee Jedi. Yes, go ahead, Mitch. What about Charles Soule?
Charles Soule will be at Terrificon on August 16th to the 18th at the Mohegan Sun Expo Center in Connecticut. Tickets are on sale now.
Thank you.
Back to the show.
Indeed. No, that was good.
I'm looking forward to the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, and again, I'll remind everybody, because I haven't put it in the spot yet, that Doctor Who will be at Terrificon as well. The 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy. And that's terrific, man. No, he was awesome. And I look forward to meeting the Doctor. That'll be my...
The Hobbit, too, but that's...
Yes, and 100%. You're absolutely right about that. But for me, first and foremost, he's one of the Doctors. And I wasn't watching the McCoy years when it was coming out because, unfortunately, all the BS that they put poor Colin Baker through with, again, bad scripts and also the strike and all the other, and also a BBC head of the network that didn't like Doctor Who, frankly, and wanted to move on. And I kind of was forced to put it back because of the fans.
It was the Trial of the Time Lord, I think, was the second season, and to me, it was the same as the Enterprise third season. It just tanked the show.
I agree. Absolutely agree.
But,
and also, poor Mel. I forget the actress's name. And it's so great that, again, in the right hands, Russell Davies brings her back for the Tenet special with Neil Patrick Harris. And look, Mel's not annoying. Go figure. Why? Because it's better writing. I mean, Mel from The Companion. She was
back to Star Wars real quick. The Acolyte.
Yeah,
the only thing I could say is, after watching Star Wars for 48 years or whatever the hell it is now, this one seems to be, and I said this to Franco, the most TV-esque Star Wars I've seen, and it seemed like I was watching a Saturday morning kids show from the 70s or 80s, because I know it's Star Wars. Again, they slapped the name on the IP on stuff, but it's the budget. Star Wars always seemed big budgeted. It always seemed like a British thing. It was in Lucasfilm. It was top quality, best lighting, best effects, best everything. Now it seemed almost a little watered down, like a bunch of guys in bathrobes running around, and it didn't have that epic feel to it. But again, it's only 2 episodes. Maybe it'll get better. But even though when they showed a Wookiee and they went to a jungle planet, it looked like that. The volume they used.
Yeah, it did look like a lot of the scenes did look like it was filmed in the volume.
It looked like it was filmed in my basement. It just didn't have that big. Because Star Wars used to have those big locations, like they go to Norway, they go to Tunisia. You see these epic settings, and now it seems like it's very dimly lit. Don't look too closely at it because we don't have a lot of money. And I'm like, really? And the other big letdown was the actress's name that was in The Matrix and
Carrie-Anne Moss.
Yeah, I thought she was going to be the big star of the show. Surprise. You'll find out.
Yeah, that bummed me out. That bummed me out that she got killed so quickly.
But she'll be in the next episode.
I don't
The next episode's a flashback.
Oh, there you go.
The Acolyte proves the one thing I've said ever since the Clone Wars. Jedis are dicks. They've always been dicks. They're not really the best people in the world. I think you'd be better off with the Sith, because at least you know that they are dicks, and they're willing to admit that they're dicks. But the Jedi,
I was watching the show the other day with my son because we're watching it together, and halfway through the first episode, I turned to him and I said, "Jedis are jerks." And my son is like, "Yeah, big time."
There's only been one Jedi that has actually had any sense that you felt there's something good from him, and that was Yoda. At the end of the day, because we never really got a lot of Ben. Like from
what about Mace? What about Mace? What's wrong with
Mace? No, Mace is he's just a badass dick. He's one badass.
Well, no, that was the whole idea. Lucas said they had become so long in the tooth that they were so pompous.
They lost their way.
That's how the Sith got through it, because they were like, "Yeah, we're in charge, but nothing's going to happen." It's like, no, idiot, it's right in front of you.
Like,
And you don't see it,
And when you look at the way Saul, when he was approaching the other person, and he's going, it wasn't that he wanted to arrest her right away. He wanted to find out there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
And that's what he was doing. And they're going, well, he's not arrested. He wanted to find out who's your master. That's the only thing he wanted to know, was because he knew that was the greater threat than this person killing Jedi, is who's your master, because that could lead to the downfall of the whole system. But I don't know. It's just Jedis are just dicks.
I agree with Mr. Vic, Liam Neeson, of course. Qui-Gon was the best Jedi, and I really was hoping, given that he shows up at the end of Obi-Wan, that we might see more of Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon. Do it before he's too damn old, man.
Well,
Because that's 100 years before. It's too. He'd be
a kid if that.
He'd not even be a kid.
Yeah.
No, I realize that.
Yeah.
But I just, again, I think it was a real missed opportunity.
Yeah.
We only got one movie with.
You could do the only character you can really do is Yoda, and that's it. You can't even do R2 and C3PO, because C3PO was created by Anakin.
Yeah.
And we don't know when R2 was created, but we know C3PO definitely cannot appear in it.
Well, Chewbacca can do it because he's old, and so can Yoda.
Yeah, but we don't know when R2-D2 was created. So that's the only character from the old series that could actually come backwards. But still, you're dealing. It's like if you read the old Dark Horse Tales of the Jedi, where they talk about the Golden Era. Oh my God, those stories were amazing.
John Ostrander and Jan Durismo and all that.
Absolutely.
The reason why you want to see Liam Neeson, and it doesn't make sense about his career, is he says, I don't like Star Wars because it used to be special. And I agree with him. They used to be one every 3 years. And then there was a big long break. And it was like, oh, there's a Star Wars movie. And he goes, and then it became every week. It became a TV show, The Mandalorian. And then there's the Tales of the Jedi and the Rogue One. He said it started to water down the product. And that's why he didn't really want to do anything to do with it. They had to throw some money at him just to do that cameo for Obi-Wan. Because he goes, and I agree, because I always thought Darth Vader and Obi-Wan had that big epic battle at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and they never saw each other again until the end of the Battle of the Death Star, where they're in the hallway fighting each other.
Mm-hmm.
Not just like, oh, by the way, they did have another fight a couple years before this we didn't know about with little Princess Leia. It's like, you're watering down your product here, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, Obi-Wan, when I last left you, I was about to learn her.
Yeah.
Now
Wait a minute.
Okay, how come we can still remember those lines and we can't remember the lines from
Spock has a
Kenobi?
sister? Spock has a sister? What?
No. So Liam Neeson will go do 30 revenge shit movies, like, oh, he's a truck driver and his son is run over by
and the Naked Gun reboot.
Yeah, and it's
I'm curious about that. We'll see what
why
happens.
are you doing that stuff? Literally, I could turn on the TV every other week. There's a brand new Liam Neeson revenge movie. It's like,
you're right.
When did Liam Neeson become Charles Bronson? Because it's a sad.
I think after Natasha hit the tree.
Because he was on a good career path. He had Schindler's List, and he was doing all this. And then once the Taken movie started,
I honestly think it's when Natasha hit the tree.
And then he just lost it. And he said, I got to pay for my kids. I got 2 boys I got to provide for. Because he's been doing
even Gene Hackman made a lot of crap as he wound down his career. A lot of crap.
Welcome to Mooseport or something with Ray Romano.
I like that one with Ray Romano. Exactly.
That's his last movie.
It was his last movie. Absolutely. Even in the 80s, he made a boxing movie where he had 2 sons that were fighters. And, I can't even remember the name of it, but it was such a forgettable movie. But he made a lot of crap. And again, just like De Niro makes a lot of crap.
Yeah.
They like making money. They like making
Bronson
money.
did too. Remember, Bronson was doing like Death Wish 7, Death Wish on the ice skates. It's like, what are you doing?
That's Wish on Ice.
You asked when Liam Neeson became the new Charles Bronson. I would hazard a guess that it was after Charles Bronson.
I think that's past you. But so what else you got? Accolades, you got
my adventures with Superman has started.
Yes, and it's been fantastic. Season 2, I am so pleased because obviously they take license with and make subtle differences in their presentation, but it's still fun, and at the heart of it, it's still Superman. Excellent show. Well, that's why.
Go
ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was
Say.
going to say I did see Godzilla -1.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet on Netflix. Yes. Oh, I can't wait.
pretty
Although I
good.
guess
The best movie of 2003.
It was. It really was. And
It's one-
it's dubbed now. I went to watch it on Netflix. I'm like, wait, I can speak Japanese. Oh, no, they dubbed the movie. Oh, shit. 'Cause that happened to me with Cinema Paradiso years ago. It was an Italian movie, and I loved it. I saw it so many times. One day it was on USA Network, and I'm drawing, and it's on. I go, oh, my God, I know Italian so well. It sounds like everything's in English now, but it was in English. So. I did.
Another show that I got hooked on, Smiling Friends on Adult Swim. Well written. Like, it's a 12-minute show. It's really well written, and it's hilarious about these two guys that they're basically their job in life is to help make people smile.
Who wants to watch that? Come on.
No, Justice League Action was a 12-minute show and
true.
fantastically written and really captured the best aspects of the Justice League. So, yeah, it can be done. Again, writing. It's all about writing, everybody. And that's where we're let down or that's where we're saved. So what can you do? Well, again, I was saying this off the air. If people need of this foursome need a break, I completely understand. If you want to still pop in occasionally, like maybe at the end of the season for Doctor Who, we could do something then. But not everyone needs to come. There's no obligations. I can find other people to talk to about non-Trek things. I don't know when Section 31 is happening, but that's the next Star Trek is going to be that movie. And obviously, I'd like us all to reconvene for whenever that happens. And also Prodigy. It is really frustrating that we've known that they've made a second season of Prodigy and it's going to be on Netflix, but that's kind of classic Netflix. We don't know when it's going to be released. So we're all just kind of waiting.
What happened to Lower Decks? Isn't that coming out in the fall?
Supposedly that's still coming up as well. I would assume we're getting on Paramount. I would assume we're getting Lower Decks and Section 31 before the end of the year. And then Strange New Worlds is still probably a year away, which is sad, but that's what it is. And then Starfleet Academy is 26. So, according to P Things, I'm so sorry, guys. I thought we would have
July 1st.
July 1st for Prodigy Season 2.
What?
Just when I was out, they pulled me back.
That's like right around.
Yeah, but they pulled back
Sorry, Mitch Corleone. What's that, Wayne?
At least they pulled them into a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, I look forward to Kate Mulgrew and her dulcet tones. Again, man, I'm sorry. As they said on The Odd Couple, if Patton were alive, he'd slap your face. If Catherine Janeway were alive, she'd slap Burnham's face. She is such a weak captain. She's the weakest captain, and only by default. I think Archer is better. I think Captain Freeman is better.
Captain Harriman sucked.
Captain Lorca from the Mirror Universe was better.
Again, I think Lorca was better as well. Crap.
What other stuff's on?
I saw Kate Mulgrew on Broadway once.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, along with Harry.
Was it her Katharine Hepburn show or a one-woman show?
No, it was with Harry Potter's penis.
Equus.
Equus, yeah.
Was she the psychiatrist?
No, the guy that played the psychiatrist was another Harry Potter actor, the uncle. And I forget what part Kate Mulgrew played, but she was in there.
JD, I'm letting you down. I've just been very busy. That's why I'm not caught up on Doctor Who. I have not seen Sugar yet. The
Colin Farrell, yeah.
Yeah, and I hear nothing but great things. And I know there's a twist. There's always a twist at the end. But yeah, I know there's a twist in it. But even just being a 40s LA detective show, that is so up my alley. So I promise you, JD, I will see it eventually.
Interview with a Vampire Season 2 is good because it's dealing with how Louis meets.
I forget his name too.
Lestat?
Yeah, it's.
Sorry? Is it Lestat? It is Lestat.
No, he already met Lestat. Lestat's the one that turned
right.
him. But this is the other vampire that he meets with the vampire troupe
Oh, okay.
in
What's
France.
sorry, go back for a second. What's Sugar? I missed all of that.
It's
It's an Apple. It's a detective show with Colin Farrell. It's kind of like a Dashiell Hammett, Sam Spade type of thing, but it's
but
weird.
there is some sort of twist gimmick in the show, and I'm assuming that it will dovetail into horror in some way, keeping it oblique for people who don't know the details. But I hear it's excellent, and man, I'm telling you, Apple continues to make great shows, or buy
Yes.
them, license them.
Chad's right. It's Armand.
Oh, there you
So
go.
we get to see the relationship between Louis and Armand in this season. And speaking of Colin Farrell, the Penguin's out this fall, is it not?
Yeah, that's coming
Yes.
out. That's on Warner Brothers.
Maybe
Yep.
we should petition Apple to buy the Star Trek franchise.
Weirder
Yeah.
stuff has happened. What else? What's in the movies? Furiosa tanked. I didn't even go see it.
What tank? Excuse me.
Furiosa.
Furiosa. Yeah, I know. Isn't that interesting? Given
Yeah,
that George
yeah.
Miller
Yeah.
was having was batting 1,000 with the Road Warrior stuff.
Yeah. Or Chris. I think it's Chris Hemsworth. I think he's the Ted McGinley of movies. That son of a bitch is in your movie. You're gonna bomb. Other
Well,
than
I'll
Thor.
tell you, man. No. Well, that's not
Ghostbusters?
true, bitch. Extraction and Extraction 2.
But those are
Are-
TV. I'm talking about movies.
They're movies that were made for Netflix, but they are movies. I got your face right there, right here.
Men in Black. He did with the girl that played Valkyrie.
Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, bombed.
Ghostbusters.
I
Ghostbusters
agree.
bombed.
I agree.
This new one bombed. It's Chris Hemsworth.
Black
He's
Hat.
Chris- yeah. Who?
Black Hat.
What was that?
That was it. About
Yeah,
actors.
apparently it bombed because you didn't know what the hell it was.
And then he was in that the Huntsman thing. With the,
Oh yeah,
Snow White and the Huntsman. Yeah.
yeah, but then he did one on his own, which was like
Yeah.
no one saw.
Bomb.
another one that just went poof.
Maybe he's good as Thor. Maybe people are coming to see Thor. They're not coming to see Hemsworth. They're going to see Thor. Okay.
Well, he's a beautiful man. I
like that he's the Ted McGinley of
of
movies.
films, of feature films.
Yeah. What else? So that happened. What other bomb that they thought was going to be? Oh, Fall Guy is on TV already. I didn't see it, but that tanked.
Yep.
There's
And
no
Roadhouse
movies out.
came and went.
There's got to be some big summer movie, no?
Well, obviously Wolverine and
Yeah,
and-
but that's next.
End of
that's next
July.
month. Yeah.
well, it's
this
not
is
that far
weird.
away, man. That's only 7 weeks away.
Forever.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but we used to have like
Inside Out.
a blockbuster every week. It was like
Inside Out 2. That's
But
coming out.
again,
Inside Out
Mitch, you just said that Warner Brothers is cutting back, and all the studios are cutting back because again they put all this money in. And I'm sorry, bad news, kids. Movie theaters are a thing of the past, and they will still exist. Maybe not, because
As art houses.
people are. Well, I don't even think art houses, frankly, Wayne, because again, a lot of art movies can be seen streaming as well.
Yeah.
And it's that people like sitting at home and they don't want to deal with $20 movies.
I heard somebody give the analogy that when Napster came out, it ruined the record industry because they didn't see it coming, and
Right.
then everybody was ripping and streaming and downloading stuff, and there was nobody buying records and CDs, and they were like, "Now what do we do?" And it took 10 years, the guy said, to the record industry to figure out how to play the game, how to do the downloads, how to do Apple and all this. And then what they did is concerts went from $30 or $50 a ticket to $300 to $500 a ticket. And that's how all the artists make their money now, the Taylor Swifts and the Stones and everybody else, because they charge thousands of dollars to go see them live.
Yep.
I don't even know how you buy a CD, and I don't even think they make CDs anymore.
Well, they still, you could still buy songs or even
Vinyl.
albums.
Yeah, but
Right.
vinyl's made a resurgence.
Yeah,
but I think with movie theaters, maybe it goes away for a while, and maybe the movie companies wisen up and go, let's not put it on stream in 2 weeks after it's in the theater, because that's what people have come to expect. Like Oppenheimer, they waited months before they dropped, and Barbie too.
Maverick.
If you want to see it, you got to go to the theaters. You can't see it at home. You got to make people want to go again instead of going,
100%.
here you go, just watch it.
100%. John has a couple other shows that I haven't seen. I heard good things about Dark Matter, and then there's Dead Boy Detectives.
Neil
And
Gaiman.
Yeah, and I don't know what Atlas is.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, Jennifer
I saw
Lopez.
the ad.
That's her show.
Uh-oh.
I think like a science fiction thing.
Uh-oh. Listen, because, man, you want to talk about a Ted McGinley of film and television. I think J-Lo is
or Geely.
Geely. Even the stripper movie that she tried to get an Oscar nomination for.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That bombed.
Big time. Big time. Well, there you go, kids.
Well, if you're into baseball, watch Apple TV. There's a thing called the Bronx Zoo about the Yankees in 1990. That's a really good special if you're into that. There's no Vulcans or Jedis in it. It's just old baseball.
I got to watch the Jim Henson documentary.
That's out,
Just
that's
came
good.
out.
Yeah, my buddy Gary was raving about that. Mike Jones. Furiosa is a very good spinoff from a movie 10 years ago that just broke even, but had a lot of critical goodwill. It's a fallacy that Mad Max movies make massive profits. You're absolutely right, Mike. They never What's that?
They never made big money Mad Max movies. I don't know where that came from. In Australia, maybe.
Well, and maybe Fury Road overperformed, but that's a recent phenomenon. And no, you're right about that.
I'll tell you, I can compare Fury Road to Furiosa. Fury Road felt more practical. Furiosa felt more CGI.
Interesting.
So, and I know Miller can do practical. It just didn't feel.
Of course.
And from what I've heard, JD, I've heard the same thing, that Atlas is not exactly a fun movie to watch.
Oh, I jokingly said the other day, when is the new Avatar movie? Said no one ever. And then I started thinking about it. When is the new Avatar movie? Those James Cameron blue people things that he loves so much that he wasted the rest of his career on. But somebody said, yeah, but that last one made like $1 billion or $2 billion. I go, it did? Who watches these movies?
Which one?
The second one that came out at Christmas time.
Yeah, the last one from 2 years ago or whatever.
Where did it make $1 billion?
China.
Apparently, yeah.
Hey, man, that's why we got Terminator Genesis after Salvation. It's honestly, and I get what you're saying, Wayne, but it's true. We gotta here in North America, we gotta watch it, man, because there is the rest of the world, and it does matter. And certainly the studios pay attention of what does well in China. What's his face? Who was oh damn it, the Shield agent that went bad? That was actually Taskmaster. He made a movie in China where he's the evil American guy, and there's like a good guy Chinese hero, and the thing made $1 billion, and it never came here. And I saw him on talk shows talking about it and stuff.
Yeah, Avatar only made $2.3 billion.
Only.
Yeah, see, that didn't make
a
it.
sequel. What did the sequel make?
That's the sequel.
He's saying the sequel.
Are you serious? That made
it made $684 million domestic, $1.6 million international.
Holy crap!
Yeah, but that's how much they spent on the budget. So
it was. I don't know, man.
It didn't make any money technically.
The Hobbit is got a thing coming out. They're going to do a prequel movie about Gollum. Like, what was he doing between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings? I mean, a question that I've been burning with for years. I don't care, because you know where he's going to end up. So what difference does it make? But now you got Peter Jackson going back to do that. I'm like, why? He's already proven himself. He's won his award. Oh, yeah, I know. It's all about money with you. You're so cynical.
Not me. I'm just saying come on. They back up the truck.
Honestly, I was going to say, yeah, it's what the studios are willing to back, because if Peter Jackson goes to them and says, "Hey, I want to do a sequel to The Frighteners," which I think would be good, the studio's going to go, you know what? The Lord of the Rings movies made a lot more money. Why don't you do another Hobbit movie?
Yeah.
That's what they're going to say.
It's like a certain Starfleet captain that they backed up the Brinks truck so that he would come back to do 3 seasons of a show.
Jean-Luc Picard is back.
Shut up, Wesley.
I'm in a t-shirt and jeans.
I told them no uniforms, and I don't want to have the original crew back. Hey, Pat, yeah, listen, your shit's tanking. We're going to have to put the crew back and put the okay, I'll be there.
Exactly. Exactly.
My artistic integrity can be bought.
Isn't that interesting? That wouldn't you think, standing back? Okay, what we tried with Discovery didn't work. Strange New Worlds, okay, fine, it's working to a degree, but they're certainly taking elements of what worked before in Old Trek, and it's the Picard show, season 3, that performed the best universally. And it's like, hey, we all want Star Trek Legacy. Well, we're going to give you Star Trek Academy instead.
It's funny
Idiot.
that season 3 Picard's the only one I bought on DVD because I'm like, oh, I want to have this to watch again just in case I don't have Paramount in the future. I'll go buy this season. The first 2 seasons, I could care less.
Of course.
No. What else? So they're going to make Lord of the Rings movies again, I heard, and they're going to make.
You want to watch The Adventures of Crystal Ball?
No.
Exactly.
Something else I just heard they're going to go back and make more of. I'm like, again with this stuff?
Agonists and Crystal Ball.
Oh, what's her name retired? The Wasp. I saw that today. I don't know what's going on there.
Lilly, yeah, right?
Yeah, she stepped out of movies. I'm done. I'm like, okay.
Who retired?
Evangeline Lilly from Lost.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, whenever you see that, I go, maybe she's sick. Something's going on. I don't know.
Now, Lost was good. I don't want to say Lost was bad. It's just how it ended sucked.
Bad.
I understand.
Like,
you can say it. Lost was
the
bad.
smoke monster, the polar bear. Okay, that's pretty cool.
They were making it up as they went along, and as that show was on and I was watching it, I'm like, they don't know what they're doing. They're making this crap up as they go along. And sure enough, I was right because they admitted it afterwards. Anyway,
everything's purgatory. Who cares? Like,
my new book, Zombie Cat, is out. You can get it on my website. Zombie Cat #1. I wrote it with Nicholas. Soul Quest #1. You can get it exclusive on blindwillstudios.com, along with these other things. Oh, and also my exclusive cover to Feral #1. I have it on the website.
Who wrote Feral?
Tony Fleece.
Yes.
There you go.
All available on the website.
I'll be selling this to anybody who wants it. It's my version of Two-Face I did while we were talking. And for you Star Trek nerds out there, here's an old-fashioned Klingon from the Star Trek motion picture.
I like that too.
Are we showing what we drew in the show?
Why not? Show and tell.
Ooh, Danny Rand.
Nice.
Ooh, look at that.
JDS says the Foundation TV series a good show. I have to say I haven't watched it. I've only heard mixed reviews, so I'm not sure.
It's not the books.
I watched. Oh, you know what else is coming on? There's a Dune prequel show coming out that takes place like 10,000 years before the Dune movies, where the Bene Gesserit start the legend of the chosen one that's going to come out, and all these prequels. It's like, dude, I really don't want to know how Anakin turns it. You know what I mean? I'm like, just like the Enterprise and whatever. Just do future stuff.
I'm going to do my own prequel of Dune, and it's going to be a half-hour shot of a beach.
Looking at the sand.
And you're going to use the popcorn box for your sandworm.
Oh, did you see the Deadpool popcorn bucket?
Yeah.
As I keep saying, the butter pouring down at the end.
Yeah, that's Ryan Reynolds being a wise ass.
Well, I thought for sure they were going to come out with a Deadpool like hot dog warmer or something too, that you could get the two together and just go at it. But maybe they're holding out on that one too.
Did you want to show one more image, Mitch, that you drew?
And we were talking about something else? No, I don't care. That's just me. Here, I drew this. Oh wait, that's a Scotty Young drawing. You know, Scotty Young kids will be at Terrificon at Mohegan Sun. So
August 18th to the 20th.
August.
I'm going to answer JD's question.
Oh, 18th, sorry.
Sorry. Foundation, it's not bad if you're expecting it to follow the stories that Asimov wrote. No.
Okay.
They're using the characters. It's a liberal interpretation of the books, but it's interesting. Very cerebral. You really have to watch it carefully to understand what's going on, because they've taken some liberties in storytelling, but it's not too bad, because there's like a flash forward to the future. So it's an interesting adaptation of the books. It's not the books. I say the books are still superior to the TV show.
Yeah.
There you go. You heard it here first. The Canadian wonder.
All right. Well, I don't know when the quartet will be back. Maybe for Prodigy in a couple weeks when it comes back in July. So maybe we'll just take a couple weeks off and be back with just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. There's more Star Trek to talk about. So
What's
join
that?
us.
Wait, what's that show you told me to watch? The making of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
On Amazon. It was on. I forget, like if it was on A&E or what channel or the History Channel. But my buddy Brian Volkweiss did this Icons Behind the Scenes series about Marvel, and it really goes from Martin Goodman and Timely to the first Avengers movie. And there's a lot of really good behind the scenes stories about the making of each movie and even the crappy years of the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie and other things, and the successes and failures of the comics. Really, really great. Our buddy Jeff Loeb is in the show. Mark Miller's in the show. Lots of other behind the scenes people that you don't normally hear from. So,
do they talk about the first Marvel movie ever made?
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck.
Of course they do.
Talk about that. Yeah.
Very much so.
There's also a making of the RoboCop movie. It's a 4-part show. It's this. I think it's the same people. Nacelle, is that the company that makes those?
Nacelle did Lower Decks.
Well, it's more than I ever wanted to know about RoboCop, but it's got Peter Weller and it's got the poor Paul Verhoeven, the director.
That's Brian's company.
Peter.
That's my buddy's company.
Yeah, it's a very good. They're well done. They're very thorough, and they have a lot of interviews with the cast, and they show a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So if you're into making of shows, you watch the RoboCop. It's on Amazon Prime.
But did they get into RoboCop 2? Because that's Frank Miller at that point.
No, they just got it. They didn't get to number 3, which has Robert John Burke.
Yeah,
who will be at Terrificon on August 16th and 18th. But they, whatever. But stop it. So it's a good thing. Watch that. And I don't know what else to watch. Go outside. It's nice out. It's summer.
Brian is a brilliant documentarian. He also made the movies that made us, the toys that made us. Coming to a toy store near you. He is a fantastic documentarian of pop culture. He also has a bunch of Oni comics that are going to start as Oni comics. He's revived a bunch of 80s and 90s animated properties, like Biker Mice from Mars, whatever.
Wow.
Oh yeah. And again, I give him a lot of credit, and he's a great guy. I love talking to him, and it makes me very happy that he's like, John, I'm always going to come back. I love talking to you. So, and he did that the Center Seat Star Trek series.
That's a good one as well. Yep, and we should do the Alec Baldwin reality show. We'll watch that. We'll come on and talk about that.
Yeah. But no, James is saying, we're going to come back for the Doctor Who finale.
Yeah.
Sure, but we'll probably fold it into when we talk about Prodigy, would be my assumption.
And also the Acolyte.
And of course, part of the Acolyte, absolutely. All right. That's more than enough, boyos. We're almost at 2 hours. So thanks for watching. We Disco, much like the John F. Kennedy book, we hardly knew ye. And that's your fault for being as bad of a written show as it was.
The long nightmare is over.
Thank God. Thank God. Yeah, I don't think we'll be, we might shake our fists a bit at Strange New Worlds. We certainly won't shake, we'll likely shake our fists.
In Toronto.
Yes.
You can go see Star Trek 3 in movie theaters next week.
That's
for
right.
One night only, June 14th, by the way.
40th anniversary.
Oh, is that why? Okay, there you go.
Yeah, 40th anniversary. All right, thanks for watching. More Word Balloon next week. Until next time, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, live long and prosper. Try and prosper better than Discovery did.